I get goosebumps right now just thinking about being the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I know exactly what this role and this responsibility requires, and I cannot wait to get to work.
Welcome to the Big Pro Football Show. I'm David Haugh, along with Clay Harbor. That was Ben Johnson at Halas Hall, day one of the Ben Johnson era. Clay, walking out of Halas Hall, strangest feeling overcame me. I had nothing to complain about. I had listened to a Bears head coach all afternoon. I listened to the Bears general manager, Bears team president, and even George McCaskey, the chairman. And I had no complaints. It was the oddest feeling. The Bears got it right.
And
that
how many
could not have gone better.
And how many of these have you witnessed?
A lot. 22 years covering the Bears. Lovie Smith, Mark Trestman, John Fox, Matt Nagy, and Matt Eberflus. Every time you walk out, kind of like, shrugging. It could have been better. Could have done this. Today, no, not so much. Ben Johnson nailed it. Yeah. And I think gives us a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. He looks like a competent, confident guy that knows what he's doing, preaching the right things, accountability, situational football. I think the players got to be excited. I know the fans are excited. We're excited. Guys have been covering this team. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Our opening drive brought to you by Chevy.
I do have a message here for the players. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. The bar has been set higher than it's ever been set before. The only way for this team and for you as individual players to reach your potential is to be pushed and to be challenged. And that's exactly what I and my staff plan on doing.
Time for our first down. Ben Johnson's message to his players. He was looking in that direction, Clay, because they're in the front row. Caleb Williams, nice haircut, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and Cole Kmet. Interesting that 4 offensive players made their way to the front row. We're the defensive guys, but I think those are the 4 guys that the message was delivered to. It was eloquent. Ben Johnson was in command. He was confident, and he got his message simply and clearly across.
I think it says something that the players are there. Okay, I've been a part of coaching fires. I remember in 2022 when Andy Reid gets let go from the Philadelphia Eagles. We're all a little bit down, man. Andy Reid's gone. These guys are excited. They're looking forward to this next chapter. They're ecstatic that Ben Johnson is the coach. They wanted to be Coach Harder. They wanted to have a guy that could take charge of the situational football, and it looks like they got their guy.
These are little things, but he did not speak with any notes. This was all from the heart. He had rehearsed this how many times in his head when he was preparing for this moment. I love the fact that he, on his Zoom interview, said, I want this job. That's the way he began the interview, and that's the way he ended it. It made an impression. And you can look at him talking about accountability, loved his definition, integrity, the culture. These are buzzwords, absolutely. But he's 38 years old. He was the #1 head coaching candidate in the league. And today, you heard him, you're nodding your head and say, yeah, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, as a player, he's a guy that will grab your attention and hold your attention. That's the one question I had. We're looking at the analytics, the stats, the best offense in the last 5 years, Ben Johnson. But looking at him now, looking directly at his players, this is going to be hard. This is going to be tough. This is what we need to do to win. This is a guy that's going to hold a room. This is a guy that's going to hold a team. He's going to hold them accountable. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with these players.
And what was the biggest problem last year? Accountability. You had players wanting to be coached harder. You're not going to hear that any longer. I also like this. So all throughout the interviews, the one-on-ones, and even at the podium, he gave a nod to a former Bears offensive coordinator, John Shoup. We had him on the score earlier this morning. I've known John Shoup for 22 years. And Ben Johnson will never forget where he came from. North Carolina, walk-on quarterback. He got into coaching because of the inspiration John Shoup provided. And you know what? Today was a day to remember all of those things. I love that he was a Cub fan, coming to Chicago every summer. He wanted to live here. He wanted to work here. And it sounds like today he's going to be here a while.
And he's a guy that did it the hard way. He alluded to, I don't have a big name. I never played. He went step by step through the organization and made it to the top. That makes you think that he is going to be so ready and excited for this job that he's going to have a fire burning in him to make sure that he gets this thing right.
Well, he's excited because of the quarterback. Brings us to our second down. This is what Ben Johnson had to say about developing Caleb Williams.
There's no doubt Caleb played a large component into my decision. He is a phenomenal talent. that had, as many quarterbacks do, an up and down rookie year. Where I see my role is as a supporter of him. This offense will be calibrated with him in mind. We're going to build this thing. This is not simply a dropping of a previous playbook down on the table and starting there. Nope. We're ripping this thing down to the studs, and we're going to build it up with him first and foremost, and then with the pieces around him next. I really look forward to challenging him and pushing him, as I said before, to continue to grow and develop.
Clay, I love the fact that he's going to tailor the game plan, the playbook, around the skill set of his quarterback. You have been in those rooms when you're installing offenses, and you know what it goes into that process. How bold is that, or how big of a project will that become if you're starting over essentially with a quarterback?
David, I mean, we've seen it. We don't have to look any further than looking back at Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron trying to fit Caleb Williams into his offense. Ben Johnson is fitting his offense into Caleb Williams. And that's what the great coaches do. You look back at my time in Philadelphia, we had Kevin Cobb or Nick Foles on the football field. Different than when we had Michael Vick on the football field. Right. Playbook almost different. You're getting Mike on the move. You have to put your players in the best position to be successful, and that's what he's going to do with Caleb.
You know what I liked about the way he spoke about Caleb and directly to him? He didn't try to gloss over the fact that there were ups and downs.
Yeah.
And he didn't say, well, you know what, he's coming off a really encouraging rookie season. He's going to be the arrows pointing up. He didn't offer any platitudes. That football coaches, the best coaches, as you know, they coach hard and they tell the truth, even if it hurts a little bit. And I think it hurts a little bit for Bears fans and maybe even Bears players to acknowledge that was a rough rookie year. He should be where Jaden Daniels is in his mind. Those were the expectations. The bar was set here, and he ended up somewhere around here. There were ups, there were downs, and they're not in denial.
Yeah, and I think that's what Caleb wanted, though. He wanted someone to coach him hard, and you don't have to look far to see what he's done. You remember Jared Goff when he got traded with 3 first-round picks from the Rams to the Lions? He wasn't a highly touted guy. He didn't have success. He had a 92 rating, and he had a 63% completion percentage. When he went to Ben Johnson, the Lion, he had a 100 rating and a 68% completion percentage on 2 good rosters. Right there tells you that even Sean McVay, a great offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson took Jared Goff, fit him into his scheme, and had him perform better than Sean McVay did.
That's the most important relationship now in that building, the one between Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. It started today, and you hope it will get better. Watching tape, breaking things down, and really starting over. All right, time for our third down. When today it came up that Ryan Poles, well, you know, what is his contract situation and who has all the power? Well, Ben Johnson addressed how much in lockstep they will be philosophically.
And Ryan, thank you so much for trusting and believing in me. What you and your staff have already built here is so enticing. This roster is absolutely loaded with talent already, and I look forward to building it with you. You and I, as we've already talked about, we're going to be in lockstep every step of the way. I cannot wait to work with you.
Now, this was the part where I thought could have been awkward. It could have been uncomfortable. It could have been, kind of evasive, and he wasn't. Anybody that wondered how committed the Bears are to Ryan Poles, as I have over the last several weeks and maybe since they got rid of Matt Eberflus, I think that you remove some of that ambiguity today because Ben Johnson wants to work with Ryan Poles. You know what? I believe him.
Yeah, he's played against the Bears. He's seen their players. So let me just lay this out. Okay. Obviously, when he's playing against the Bears, he's watching the tape of the Bears defense. And he even named players that he thought played well. When he's playing against the Vikings or the Packers, you are watching the Bears offense, the teams that have the similar opponents. So he gets to see the offense and the defense, and he said he liked the players on the team and what Ryan Poles was doing with them. And the other thing that stood out to me, he got asked straight up about player acquisition.
Yes.
What happens when you differentiate player acquisition?
I love this answer.
And they said, we are going to sit down,
yeah.
we are going to watch film together, and we are going to figure it out. And
grind
that's
it
what
out.
you want to hear.
That's a football coach.
Yes.
Right. You sit there, you watch the tape. I don't know what I think. What do you think? Well, let's watch it on tape because the eye in the sky doesn't lie.
It does not.
Right? So that was a good moment. I also like the fact that he and Poles have shared a history a little bit, not to overstate it, but they were both graduate assistants at Boston College. Now, 1 year after the other, they were I think it was Poles replaced Ben Johnson, but they had the same cubicle.
Yeah.
They worked from the same cubicle 2 different years. They have some shared people in their past. Those experiences matter, and those connections matter. So I think when we talk about their relationship, you don't want to overstate it, but I do think they're probably more familiar with each other than maybe some people realized.
Absolutely. And they also spoke to having some mutual friends. I think that goes back to the Boston College days of why they were so quick to be able to do this, because they knew about each other. They knew what each other stood for, and they had validation from their friends and people they trusted that this other guy is good and he's going to be able to get it done.
It sounds odd, but Ben Johnson was a college quarterback, but I think that his emphasis as an offensive coordinator in Detroit to the running game, to protection, can help Ryan Poles know what to emphasize. Ryan Poles needs to start building from the ball on out. And finally, he's got a head coach that believes the same thing.
And that's what he stated. He said, okay, we got to fix some things on the offensive line. We got to fix some things on the defensive line. But other than that, I think he's pretty happy with where this roster is.